Hi everybody, hope you're doing great. I had a really good question. This is from one of my patrons. I'm gonna read it and then I'm gonna open the door for my guides to share some feedback. I've got my own personal feedback, so maybe I'll throw that in there too. But let's start with your question here. You're seeking some advice. Discomfort versus comfort. That's how you title it in bold for me. You say, I cannot stand any discomfort right now, and it is something I'm learning to accept, but why does it feel so awful? Do we stay in the comfort, or do we reach out and embrace the discomfort? You know, it's funny because my guides are asking me, what is my discomfort in finding my own language to talk about this topic of yours. And I tell them, well, it's going to take me time to find the right words in order to express things perfectly. So then I have discomfort with myself in self-expression. And that's not necessarily all that uncomfortable. It's just how much time do I want to take in the creation of a professional video, all my ideas of what that is. So if I were to share something of personal feedback, when you go through life and you go through enough doorways of experiences, you might get to a breaking point multiple times in there, even to get to yet another breaking point where you just can't really sit with the depths of what you're learning about. It's not a mental thing. You're transforming. So the discomfort is the transformation process. Your bones are breaking, okay? And then you're growing back stronger. Nobody wants to sit with that. Why would anybody want to sit with that? My guides are asking me if my bones are breaking right now at the discomfort of just simply talking. Definitely not. Definitely not breaking. But I did have an experience recently, this was just last month, where I didn't have the tools to even digest the reality of it. And I haven't talked openly about it either, but I'm working through it in my own time. And it's almost like a reality that you would never, ever want to know what that is like. And now you know what that is like. And now you have to sit with it. Have you ever had an experience where you never wanted to know what that was like, but now you know? What do you do with that? What is the emotion? What does it mean to your soul? And sometimes I see the soul like a piece of paper. When these events happen, they're just big cosmic hands just toss you into two directions, and you have to somehow work your way back to wholeness. But all that is the bone-breaking experience, right? And so you're new now. It's important you sit with the discomfort. Even the fact that you can articulate that you're having discomfort and it's hard to sit with it because it's awful. And that alone is already progress, okay? Because you're choosing to acknowledge it's real. That means you're embracing reality. You're embracing the real world and your real life experiences, which means you're an authentic person. A lot of people don't even know how to go there, so they create blocks and they live in a more superficial fantasy kind of reality. Even when it hurts, maybe they'll be the victim, that they're not really healing what this is about inside. They're just dancing around it somehow. And so I've said that. I'm just waiting to see. I feel like I'm paused out for a minute. So I'm going to relax and I just want to see what my spirit guides have to say. I don't even know if I came full circle in talking about this. I think the last point that I made is that it's important that you sit with the discomfort. And you actually sit with how awful it feels as a joyous experience, not because it's joyful, but it's the transformation process, which is pretty neat. Okay, so something good is coming out of all of this, okay? So how long do you sit with it? Do you cry? Do you talk out loud with your invisible friends like I do? Hint, that's how I work through it. I record even conversations and I re-listen to them so I can get to know myself and what I'm going through. It helps me feel grounded and clear-minded, and I'm wanting to make sure that I'm not over-exaggerating or stating something that isn't as authentically, as groundedly true as possible. Because sometimes we go through experiences and then we say things that are convenient to the experience, but they could be stated better. I don't know what a good example of that is right now, but I'm always double checking myself. Why did I say it like that? Is that the truth, or is that kind of the truth? Okay, if I could say it better, how would I say it? You know, I do this in my own time. When I work through things, I check myself, I check my language. And that's part of developing a conversation with yourself over the challenges that you're going through in order to work through it with yourself. That you can work through it with other people too. I work through a lot of things with myself and the invisible world, my spirit guides, the universe, energy, my soul, all of those things. Mainly because I can be completely open. Where when it comes to human beings talking about things, like I said, October, I don't really want to talk about it openly. I want to work through it inside myself. It gives people an opportunity to feel that they have a purpose, to be a good listener, to be supportive. But sometimes when you're open about things, and now the person that is receiving the message may dislike your decision making, may judge you for that. I don't want to deal with that when I'm working through discomfort. I want to deal with something that is completely unconditionally loving. And I always get that if I'm talking to the trees, I'm talking to the air, and I'm talking to myself, because I have no reason to judge myself any more than to be present with the pain and acknowledge that it's real for us at this time. So me, myself, and I kind of thing. We're a we, if I want to go there with it. Okay, so one thing I also feel inspired to say, since my spirit guides want to be quiet, I feel like the human race, we're always seeking peace, right? And we're always seeking a better life, a better experience. We're always seeking that. And I don't know that that's what being human is all about. So if you choose to stop seeking comfort, now you can just live. You can live with what you've got. You can live with the excitement of the unknown. You can live with your painful experiences, and don't be too hard on yourself if it takes time to work through it. And don't be too hard on yourself if you don't like the person you've become, because perhaps the discomfort, it takes away your personality, or it takes away the person you would like to be. It doesn't really own you. It's just a process of becoming new, of growing and becoming wiser, right? But life isn't about finding perfect heaven, because even perfect heaven, why did we come here? Why wouldn't we just stay there where everything is peaceful and perfect, right? Why would we put ourselves through the grinder here on earth? We love this, okay? Our souls are growing here. Our souls are immaculate here. Our souls are extraordinary here. And you could say there's a vast pool of people who aren't doing the work, and then people who are doing the work, and we have to somehow work together with the playground of the adult world or the childlike world. And then how do we grow and create a heaven on earth kind of experience? Well, here we are. We're talking, we're sharing, we're connecting, we're going through the discomfort, right? We're working on ourselves. So my guides are talking to me about what would be the discomfort For instance, if I were to talk about October and what I went through, and what would be the discomfort in sharing about it? See, already it's making me emotional. So the discomfort is taking this experience away, making it sort of my, I don't feel the need to, I don't know, express that emotional side. And so I don't know, it's like crying in front of people. Who wants to have that experience? I don't want to have that experience. Some people want to have that experience. Some people need to have the experience in that way. All right, so I'm going to tell you guys what happened in October. What you don't know is I've been pregnant for months, okay? And I was waiting to let you all know the news. The reason why I hadn't said anything is because I'm in this immigration process that never ends. It doesn't matter that I'm married to a Canadian. I can't ever seem to complete this process. So I didn't have a work permit. And without a work permit or some kind of legal document, I can't get medical support here. And I've been here for, since September of 2021. So, and I've been working through this for years, actually. July of 2019, I started working on this process. So it's kind of weird. It's not just kind of, it's exceptionally, intolerably frustrating, all right? Where I'm at the point that it's just in God's hands. It's whenever I'm meant to get this. It's whenever it's meant to be completed. So I haven't been able to get medical because I wanted to find out, is it a boy, is it a girl, and let you guys know what the due date is. And it took months and months before I finally went into the local office. I mean, I just scheduled an appointment. I'll just have to pay out of pocket for this process. And because I have residency, I've been living here for several years now, I'm able to prove that because I was as pregnant as I am, because I can show some immigration progress here. They gave me a medical card, which I was so relieved. It was like a miracle, okay? And within 2 weeks, everything about the pregnancy, top notch, but the ultrasound revealed some serious abnormalities. And this is really exciting because Joe and I have been, looking forward to having a baby together, and our lives have been so unstable, that it's pretty special. It's like, it's a miracle, Anyway, well, we got flown to Vancouver to work with specialists to find out, what's the condition of the baby. So I'm in the 3rd trimester, okay? Like, it's a miracle that I didn't have a miscarriage. And it was incredible. The staff, I'd never felt so much compassion and support. And there was 4 different people that ran the ultrasound. There was a team of geneticists. There was several teams that we worked with in order to get a feel for what exactly is going on with our baby. And it turns out that that we're leaning in the direction of this chromosomal issue called trisomy 13. And the cardiologist was showing us what the baby's heart looked like, and totally deformed, okay? It's not like a regular heart. It's a miracle kind of thing that the baby's even alive, because even if it were to be born with abnormal heart, okay, abnormal kidney, liver, brain, abnormal, like the face, the palate didn't develop, and brain didn't develop, liver, kidneys are not developed, baby's majorly underdeveloped, the heart is not it's like in the center, it's round, it has an extra pulmonary artery, like all this stuff, okay, extra digits, so do I want to continue the pregnancy, the baby then be born with surgeries? Maybe the baby could live for up to 2 weeks, as I'm watching it starving to death and unable to breathe, under surgery, constantly in medical care. No, I don't want that celebration of life. I don't want that for our child. I don't want that for our family. I don't want to continue with the experience. So Joe and I made the decision to terminate the pregnancy, which is an unthinkable experience for me because I value life. So yeah, I had to go through that. And you know, it's like, I mean, if I were to describe it, I'm in the 3rd trimester. Like, they put the baby to sleep while you feel it kicking. They'll put it to sleep under the ultrasound so they get the heart to stop beating. And then you have to go through a whole labor experience and give birth to the baby that's not alive. So yeah, it was pretty messed up, you know? I'm not the only person on the planet who's gone through this experience. And now I know what the experience is like, right? So how do I sit with discomfort about it? I mean, for me, my life is all about what do I want to do with my life? And so I want to create things. I want to build upon things, you know? And so if I am focusing on this event, I'm holding myself in a place of how am I supposed to use my mind? How am I supposed to truly grieve this? I've felt it. I have echoes of it. And, you know, Joe and I, after we get back from Vancouver, after all of this, you know, I've got iron deficiency, so I'm exhausted. And I still have to keep moving forward with all of my responsibilities. So I take ownership of my responsibilities. Like, I like to credit myself with that. And so I don't want anything to come in the way that doesn't allow me to uphold myself. Imagine if the world could be strong enough where we are upholding ourselves. You know, how much time do I need to invest in grieving? I asked this question. So yeah, I feel like I have a baby in spirit, and then that brings me joy and it brings me peace. And what brings me peace is having complete acceptance. Am I sad? Yeah, because I had an idea that I was having a baby and that my life was going to be revolving around raising a child for years to come. I have infant things here that I'm looking at, and I have no baby to share those things with. My entire 2025 now is going to be a totally different experience. So yeah, I feel all of these things and the discomfort of talking about it, because, you know, people have their opinions, and people are very compassionate too, and people are very understanding. And part of the discomfort too for me is I don't really need to be acknowledged for my experience. I don't need to talk about it, you know, so then it makes me nervous to share this video, because there's going to be so much kindness sent my way, and then I don't know what I'm to do with all of that. So I'm just going to receive it, you know, and be grateful for it. So that's an example of discomfort, you know, that's an example, and this was just a few weeks ago. So now what? They asked me if I feel like I've provided a valuable message, and I need to sit with this for a minute, because I don't know. I mean, yes, I have provided a valuable message. Did I make the message about myself, though? Did I make it about your needs? So sometimes we go through experiences and we share in order to help present examples, right? And then how you could potentially go navigate it. You know, there's been times in my life where I have another memory coming to me another incapable event. And I desired, because I'd been through so many incapable events in my life. And I remember getting in the shower, and I remember just letting the hot water, just feeling the hot water, and I was crying, and I was kind of like, I was screaming. I was literally out loud screaming. And I was screaming and holding my head because I didn't know how else to digest that reality, because it was cruel. It was very cruel. It was another cruel thing that I had to go through. Because, life, where's the perfect heaven? It's about the bone breaking. It's about the growth. I'm still alive. I'm still alive to have these conversations. I'm still alive, and I'm stronger and wiser from it. And I remember that was in 2021, actually. Not that long ago, really. Just a couple years ago. And I know the triggered event that caused it, but I remember I wanted to lose my mind. Because if I could lose my mind, then I didn't have to live in this reality. But that's not an option. You don't get to just lose your mind. You don't get to just fall apart and stay broken and not function. No, you have to express your deepest. You have to cry. Like, it's like if you were being tortured, would you just lay there and take it, or would you be screaming in order to cope with how horrifying this is? Bone-breaking experience, right? Could be physically, mentally, emotionally, soul bones breaking. And how are you going to cope with that? Now you're going to cope with the discomfort, right? But when we go through hard things, it's no different. It breaks us. And there's no way out. There's literally no way out. You don't end your life over these things. You don't. You sit with it, and you sit with it somehow. And you feel shattered, and you feel ripped, and you feel thrown into two different places, and you feel it. However you need to feel it. But you're going to come back together again. And you were strong enough to sit with it. You were strong enough to keep going, and you're strong enough to see what happens next in the story of your life. You're strong enough to see where you land, So here I am, after going through this in October, and still had to pack and move into this new place, which is a wonderful gift. But again, it's odd, because we moved into a bigger place for raising the baby, and it was really more so for us to have a bigger place. And there's a lot I can say about the baby and journeys that Joe and I did, and the confusing experiences that we had over the months. And I never doubted the health and well-being of the physical child, even though the journeys were revealing some really strange and unusual things. But you don't really know. You don't really know how that pans out in logical reality. You just know that something is unique and different here, and it's difficult. The many journeys that I did into the baby would leave me crying and leave me in spaces that were really difficult and painful. And I was wondering, maybe this is a pain that the baby's helping me heal. I didn't want to think that it was, associating with maybe a premonition of the future or the baby. I'll tell you actually one of the journeys that I did, and I did talk about it briefly in a previous video, because it's hard to comprehend God, right? You can't comprehend that God is a benevolent being, all right? And benevolent beings give you bone-breaking experiences. Why? So you can grow, become the immaculate soul that's creating heaven on earth, right? And we're all doing it. Doesn't matter what level and how good at it you are. It doesn't matter. We're all doing it. We're all one big family. And some brothers and sisters get along, some don't. That's our world. We got to figure it out. We just have to keep working at it. We just have to keep trying, right? you have to see how this life pans out. You have to give it a try from beginning to end. You have to never give up on it. Well, one of the journeys that I did into the baby, which left me really messed up, it was in the beginning, and Jesus was there. I was shown a space long forgotten, longer forgotten than I've ever come across as of yet. And it disturbed the living daylights out of me, and I remember being upset with God because God did not do anything to reconcile this as of yet. And that was incomprehensible even to my soul, okay? Like I could feel it in my soul. My soul was disturbed by this. Well, this dimensional space is long forgotten about. It's actually put on a time out. And so usually energy space that are put on a time out, the chaos has to go to sleep, and then things are reconciled in time, and we can't even conceive of what that is. We can't even conceive of, this is like timelines of eternity ago, okay? Like inconceivable long ago stuff. Well, there's kind of like in my journey experience a vault door, and this vault door is opened, and there's Jesus, and Jesus tells me, you know, the spirit of our baby, I get to choose and to pick out a spirit from this forgotten space, which is a shattered and broken world with sleeping chaos. And I knew in my being that no matter what I chose, I was going to have a severely broken soul. And I wasn't afraid of that. I didn't know it was going to come with a broken body. And I remember I was so disturbed, I said, F you. When I did, because you can't hide your honest feelings. Like you can't hide in the energy world. You can't hide. You have to be brutally honest. And that's how brutally honest, that was the brutal, honest truth. And so I couldn't really hide that. So I just said that. And I needed time to just sit there and breathe and say, okay, I trust the benevolence of God's vision here, inconceivable to my human mind. I trust in this chapter of my life. I trust in all of this. And I chose a soul, and it left me in tears. Not because I was afraid of what the soul would be like. I knew the soul was inconceivably timeless. But what was it going to take to help mend the soul from what it endured in a lifetime that it was associated with in entering into this human world? Anyway, that was one of the journeys. So you can see how strange, how very strange, you know. Joe had a journey too, where this was in the beginning, where it didn't seem right that we were able to have this child. And it was represented that there was one red flower and one white flower. And somehow the two flowers were able to merge together by some miracle. And it's kind of like this impossible thing. And that left him wondering if there might be some kind of complication. And then the fact that we could never get a medical card, it was as if the universe didn't want us to know anything yet. Universe wanted this baby to have time in the womb. Wanted this soul to have time with Joe and I just as a baby, you know? And another thing that always was present, I could never go to the physical body. I was never allowed to go to the physical body of the baby. I was never allowed, and neither was Joe. It was really strange. And the few times you could kind of get into there was some kind of imbalance. And so we were always doing energy healing to correct that frequency. Maybe that's why I never miscarried. I don't know. But the spirit, which the baby's name, we named the baby Sebastian, as we felt like the baby was a boy, although the baby was born with both. Like it was underdeveloped. Like you couldn't really tell, was it a boy or was it a girl? You couldn't tell. So it seemed looked kind of like both, actually. But we felt like the spirit of the baby was a boy. Like there was a male energy about it that was really wonderful to talk to. I'll have to tell you some other stories. But the spirit of the baby would never go in to what was like. It was like living in a space outside of a well. And the well, to go into the well would be to go into the physical body. The well was like the womb. And so Joe would often take the child into the well, into the womb, and create a safe space where this was safe. And I remember talking to the child about this too, but it was never clear that, it was clear that there was major discomfort of merging with the physical form. There's major discomfort. But here we are, optimistic, we do whatever we can to make this comfortable, to work through whatever comes up. And maybe it's the inconceivable reality, you know, that we would need the human world to really give us that clear picture for us to accept it. You know, like, what are you supposed to do anyway? You're just supposed to, you know, see what comes next. You know, you do the best you can with what you've got. There was one other, a really neat message. This wasn't really about the pregnancy, but this was just talking to Sebastian's spirit. And Sebastian was showing me a memory of mine. I went and visited France for like a month when I was a teenager with school, and it was really an extraordinary experience for me. And we went and visited chateaus, which are just sort of dreamy places. Like, it's kind of a surreal fantasy idea that you could ever live in one of these magical places. These beautiful gardens and around these chateaus. Well, he was showing me the chateau that I remember and this garden, and it was a thought about heaven on earth, okay? And he was saying, this is your house and this is your garden. And it was like the idea of a surreal life experience that could be joyful. And I, you know, I kind of said, okay, so I have this, but this is my normal. So how surreal is it going to become when I adapt to how normal this is? Like, I would love to keep it as magical at day 10,000 as it is on day 1, right? So how do you hold on to the magic of a place? But I was also talking about life and how could I find contentment in simply just living here with the garden? I think I would be bored. Like, I would need some kind of event to challenge me. And in my mind, I had seen a war break out, and that my home was on fire now, the chateau, and there were people that had died around this place, and the garden was burned down. And now I stand here at what remains of my beautiful home, and I say, and now, after having this experience, now I have to do the work to put everything back the way it was, and maybe put it back better. But what would I do if that never happened? And he showed me something interesting. What would you do if you had nothing but time to do whatever you wanted to do? But this is deep stuff. Because he showed me an opposing pathway, and the chateau was never burned, there was never any dead bodies, there's no rebuilding, it was just a garden. And he showed me with my time, I wrote poetry, and I wrote music, and I started to build these creative skills. I did painting, and I got better and better and better at painting, and I got better at writing poetry, and I got better with music and playing instruments, and I started to learn how to sing, and I got better at that, and my entire experience was just this continual growth and creative expression. And it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. And it got me wondering if a human being could just embrace a peaceful life. But with a peaceful life, you don't just sit still. You have to be in action, doing something of growth. It has to always include something of growth. That's the key ingredient to being human, is growth. But why does it have to be bone breaking? And I wondered too, and I talked to Sebastian, I said, maybe I'm too used to bone breaking as normal, that I don't know how normal it could be to just sit in a garden and develop creative skills. That maybe it's time for the human race to know more about what this is like. It was just simply an exploration. There's other things Sebastian had shown me. I haven't really had it in me to talk to Sebastian because I've been moving and trying to get things into place and continuing to stay on top of my responsibilities and the discomfort, right, of going back and talking to Sebastian now that there is no physical life we're gonna have together. It just feels weird. So that's my message. And naturally my spirit guides are really proud of me because I was wondering if I would say anything, if I should say something. And so that's what I have to say. You know, here I am on the other side of any intolerable discomfort, and the discomfort of talking about it. And, you know, as an example, and the discomfort of other things and how I work through it, you know, discomfort is still there, you know, discomfort is still there, but it helps to not be afraid of it. It helps to know that it is helping you grow and become extraordinary, and it's okay to sit with it the way that it makes you feel. This isn't becoming attached to it. This isn't letting it control you. This is a relationship with sitting with it and continuing to live your life. Taking some time to acknowledge it's real is important. Taking the time to acknowledge how this reality makes you feel, what it means to you, is important. It's part of your human lessons and the meaning of life to your soul. And maybe it's important you too explore the meaning of your discomforts, because as you sit with it and you grow through it and it changes you and transforms you, you'll be able to share messages with others one day too, or even today, who knows, to help them not give up on life, to help them know that they're not alone. I feel like the younger generations really need to understand the reality of the human world is it's painful. And do we focus on our pain and just talk about our pain? Or what do we want to do with our life? You're going to have to figure out how to balance it. When's the right time to talk about it? When do you acknowledge it? You know, you just try things, see what happens. That it's normal. It's absolutely a normal part of human life, unless, you know, Sebastian is showing me a garden of a lifetime of creative development. I think that's pretty wonderful. I would love to see that become a reality here. And maybe we can live joyous lives where nothing bad happens. You know, where we don't have to grow in that way. We can grow through becoming better musicians. We didn't even know we had it in us, right? We find something to do. Okay, that's that. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for your question. Freaking loved your question. Thank you for poking me into talking about things I didn't expect to talk about. And thank you for everybody for all your love and your kindness. And I wish you all a great day.